Mark has given us the signal that our meeting is now being recorded. So I would like to call the committee of the whole for the Board of Ed, September 13th, 2021 at 6:01 in order. And our first regular order of business. Oh, hi, Jane. I'm glad Jane is here too. Yay. That's not the order of business. The order of business is for the approval of the committee of the whole meeting minutes of August 9th. I would entertain a motion for acceptance.
So moved.
Okay. All right. I got a second from Rosemary. I got a first from Lee. Is there any discussion on the meeting minutes? Hearing none, all those in favor of the approval of the meeting minutes for August 9th, 2021, please say aye.
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 Oppose? Abstain?
Abstain.
That's Liz. Liz has abstained. Is that a word? I have no idea. Sorry. All right, motion has carried and we're going to move us along. I'm in a different location. My husband is in the normal room because that's got a standing computer to do a annual board meeting for one of his things that he's involved with. And so there's a lot more background noise. So I apologize that I had these little beautiful earbuds in that stick out and make it look like I am trying to speak to an alienation. I am not. And I probably will be transferring back upstairs eventually, but until then, we are stuck with all the dog noises and cat noises and etc. So the next order of business, I believe, is our superintendent, Susan Austin, who's going to give us a report of the opening of school. And I do appreciate the fact that your board notes had pictures and lots of information as well. So I thought that was really handy. But I can't wait to hear more about what you got to say.
Well, I guess the wonder of the new year is just seeing all those smiling faces underneath the masks, and you can tell in their eyes, whether it's the teachers or the students. So Dr. Phil Piazza and I got out to all the schools last week, and Mark Russell did too. And he was able to capture some of those smiles behind the masks and to capture a lot of happiness getting back to school. I heard many teachers say, and parents too, it's so glad to get them back full-time in person for the whole week. And we couldn't agree with them anymore. Today was kind of a historic too, because all of our preschool, pre-Ks and Ks joined us. So now all of our K through 12, pre-K through 12 are in school. And that ran very smoothly in the morning. Just knowing how the transportation committee has worked on, getting those, routes done. And we had not in the past been able to bring in our typical peers in the preschool programs or the pre-K because of limitations, but we were able to do that this year. So that made accessibility to our programs even greater from all of our constituents. So we were very happy to do that. I think you saw the article in the newspaper, and I think I saved a link. It was really a celebration while the day was really at Mystic in the morning on the first day of school, which was September 7th. All the schools were celebrating. There were balloons, there was music, there were at the Thames River Magnet, they were all wearing their green turtle sweat t-shirts, which are their logo. So the turtles. And kids were happy to be back and teachers are happy to be back. We are working on transportation, and I know Sam Kilpatrick is going to give you an update on that. Every day got a little bit better. Today, I felt like we had a second first day, but I saw a thumbs up that everybody got home. So I'm getting the word when I get everybody home safe and sound. Really important. And I think because it's a little slower because we are so safe, we are really at the school level. They're making sure all the kids, they're trying to make sure they all get on the right bus. They're counting kids, they're checking on them. So that it takes a little longer at the school building to get them on the buses and then send them off. So it's just really been happy place to be able to be in the schools again and to be with students and teachers and principals. So I don't know, Phil, do you have anything else to add to that? Because you've been right along with me, so.
Yeah, and I'll just say, as my first opening here in the district, I was really impressed, by, I think the teachers, I've never seen it, all the buildings we visited, all the teachers were outside, ready to greet the kids, in the hallways, helping direct traffic. I think they really helped the parents feel at ease and the students as well. So I was really impressed by the amount of staff that were just present and able to be very helpful to these parents at a very, you could tell people were nervous about a lot of different things, about the new procedures, about the new buildings, about going back to school after a year and a half of back and forth. And I did hear that a lot from the parents that I was able to talk to in the parking lots, and especially today too, during the drop-offs of the pre-K and they were just happy to see that their kids were happy, and that they were leaving them in good hands. So that was really nice to see.
I'd also add to that today we had the first of several vaccination clinics at Fitch again. We had done them in the spring. And with our partners, Hartford Healthcare, we were able to provide the Pfizer vaccine for, I think, the whole morning session. So we really included staff members and students who were eligible and made it really easy to get there. So the second follow-up will be on October 4th, and it could be a follow-up, it could be a booster shot. It could also be the first of another series, which is going to come, they're going to come back November 1st. So Lori Lapine and I are really trying to make sure that we have several of these back to back so that people can get their first shot, their second shot, and a booster shot. And as many staff as we can get there, as many students, and I'm hearing some good news about the Pfizer shot being available for our children 5 to 11 years old come October. So I'd like to have these lined up, ready to go. So to make it easy, of course, it would only come with parent permission. So parents would have to sign permission, and even for our middle school and high school children, sometimes the parents will come and join them, and be with them. And sometimes parents have come and gotten their shots at the same time. So I think it's a great community effort in the middle of opening schools. So, but we're working on it every day, and we're bringing the whole team together with transportation. That's a good segue to Sam, who's been right on top of things, and to the STA. And I did do a shout out for our bus drivers. We're so grateful to them because they have learned new routes. We have new bus drivers, and they're just, I love seeing them with the kids. It's so great to see them loading and unloading and making those connections.
Before we move on to transportation, can we just make sure that there's not other questions for
Sure.
the opening of school? Thank you. Liz,
Yep.
did you have your hand up specifically about transportation?
Transportation, I just wanted to know, do we have enough drivers now?
That's going to be up to Sam. I don't know that there's enough drivers in any community.
Right.
It's a problem across the state, across the nation.
Yep.
But I think you see the signs up everywhere. I've seen school buses really publicizing it. I know Lori Lapine is going to a big job fair at the Mystic Marriott next week, but it's really up to STA, who is the employer
Yeah.
of our bus drivers. We are not the employer of the bus drivers.
I understand. I just wanted to know what the status was. So,
Yep.
Thank you.
I think Sam can give us more details on that.
Lee? Sorry.
Oh, you're on mute.
No,
Sam?
Sam
You're
should be.
saying
Sam?
a better part than I am.
Sam? He's now on mute.
Yeah.
Sam, unmute, please.
Yeah, I guess the first question that came up about STA is whether they have enough drivers, and they do not. They're short drivers. as everybody in the state and the nation seem to be. As a matter of fact, a couple more drivers left their employed today. So they're short even more today than they were yesterday. But the good thing is that the new two-tier system is really working well. We've worked out some of the kinks about where parents need to go at the high school, which was slowing down pickup at the high school or buses getting into the high school. And of course, we're speeding up the exit from the middle school kids home on time. So that's working better. I was at Three Rivers this afternoon, watched the, well, actually, I got out of my car and parked down on Lytton Avenue because the traffic was moved up past the light toward the City Hall. And buses were still in line there. So we haven't figured out exactly how we can get buses into the elementary school because they are just coming directly from dropping high school, middle schools off and coming directly to those schools. And the traffic there on Brandegee is pretty well backed up. So we're still trying to figure that out. I was talking to Jamie this afternoon about that to see if there's something we can do differently with the parent pickup so that we can get the buses into the parking lot. But even with the backups, it's still quicker than it was last week. So it's moving quicker and kids are getting on the buses. And we still have, of course, today we started with the kindergartners. And so kids are still, especially those younger kids, are still finding their buses. Their teachers and aides are getting them to those buses. But that's taken a little bit of time too when we added that in today. So slowing down
preschool and pre-K
preschool and pre-K
and TK
and TK. That's right. So again, the good news is that things are moving along more quickly. The unfortunate part of not having enough bus drivers is that actually we have to double up on some of our runs. Our STA has to double them up in order to get them home. So we're still working on the details of that. They're advertising everywhere. We have it on our website. Lori's going to a couple more job fairs. STA is going to job fairs. And so if you know anybody that's capable of and willing to drive a bus, we should all go out and recruit as we can, for sure.
We can help publicize that on our website too, Sam. So talk to Joe and see if we can't get that up so people will see that information.
Yep.
Rita?
Yes, Sam, I had a question. Could the buses do the reverse route to go to pick up at Thames River? You know, go by the Pfizer back gate and come up that way so they're not in that long line? Do you know the back way to go to where West Side is? Sam's on mute.
Some buses are coming in that way, but the buses that are coming from the other end of town are coming across that way. So I don't know how many buses can get around to the other side, but that's another thing that we're talking to Jamie and STA about to see if there's a speed that up.
The other way is to turn before Pfizer, and you know, one of the streets that lead right up to Thames River.
like Hines Avenue or
Yep.
Hines, and I can't remember the other one right now.
I mean, I know I know what that's like to be stuck in those lines. And the other thing is, when you said you have to double up children on buses, does that mean there are 3 to a seat?
There may be a couple of buses that have 3 to a seat, but that's not the plan. And we've been trying to double up with buses that had less kids on it. So
Okay.
if they're in the same
And
area.
only the youngest ones that can fit 3 to a seat. We're really trying to keep middle school and high school 2 to a seat. And I know Patty was able to send into several neighborhoods, I think Branford Manor and also Navy Housing. She sent 2 buses to make sure that we had plenty of room, and she's going to work on that plan to make sure the kids know exactly which bus. But there's 2 buses for each of those neighborhoods that seem to be really too many kids. I mean, they were not too many for what the bus can handle, but they were too many for COVID and during these times. So we're trying to make sure that we do this in the safest way possible.
Right. And I think we really need to have our mile, it's supposed to be within a mile if there are sidewalks children could walk. And I noticed that Mr. Griver, really, no one was really walking to school, but maybe that will change as time goes on. So hopefully we'll have more walkers and not have to worry so much about parents dropping children off and buses being crowded.
When I looked at Mystic River, for instance, there were only a couple of kids in that neighborhood just north of Mystic River that are actually walkers from there. So there aren't that many walkers coming from that neighborhood. And of course, anybody on that road, there aren't that many kids on that road either. So.
Wow. So all behind where Cutler used to be, that whole neighborhood, there's only a couple of children?
Yeah, there were only, we call them blue dots because that's what we have on the map. So
Right.
there were only a couple of blue dots in that neighborhood.
That could change next time when we run the lottery, now that people really understand it a little better. I've heard that in other neighborhoods too, where they said, oh, the new school's right in my neighborhood, but I'm going over to this other school. So remember, we kind of kept the kids together in their groups. So Claude Chester and SB Butler went to Mystic, and then we had most of Mary Morrison going to Thames, but then you had the full run lottery, so kids are going everywhere. But
Right.
next time we run the lottery, that may shift.
Yes. And also you have Bel Air.
And the other thing is, the other thing for Mystic River is that actually kids on the other side of Route 1 on New London Road over into the very early parts of Bel Air are within that 1 mile distance, but we don't. A lot of them are taking the bus right now. So there was a buddy first grader, so
Yeah.
we're
Oh, okay.
picking.
Yeah,
and
it's a
some
half
go to
mile,
their-
Rita, for the younger ones, for kindergarten and preschool.
Oh, really? I don't remember that ever changing. Huh. Oh,
It's
okay.
been here as long as I've been here.
Wow. Thank
Dean,
you.
I see you had your hand up.
Yeah, my question
one
has to
hand
do
up.
with segregation on the buses. I mean, I know the loading of the buses is more controlled for departure at the schools. It's easier to do that. Whether that's done is another question. But as kids are being picked up, I'm hearing, again, it's just anecdotal. I'm hearing that the segregation isn't necessarily being maintained. Now, maybe the kids, by and large, self-segregate so that you have very few 6th graders sitting near 12th graders. But apparently it's a little more higgledy-piggledy on the way into school than it is away from school. Have you heard anything about that?
I have
I
not-
haven't heard too many complaints.
No.
Go ahead, Susan.
Well, that was my initial concern, which is I know we're waiting for feedback. We want to hear from parents, from kids, from maybe bus drivers about what's going on. But I also recognize that the feedback wasn't going to be perfect. We are relying on kids actually opening up when very often they don't. They just sort of grumble to each other on, social media, and that's it.
I know
I've
that the
only
administrators are paying attention to them coming in. And I noticed that they were, smaller in the front and larger in the back. So I guess, just checking in with the administrators, and certainly, we probably will do something to elicit that information from both students and parents in the next couple weeks, Dean.
Because who's in charge? I mean, as the bus picks kids up, how is it designed that how do you make sure that the younger kids are in the front, say, and the older kids are in the back? Are things labeled? Is the bus driver responsible for sorting the kids out? How is that done? Or do you rely on the kids to self-segregate?
It's done by the bus driver.
Okay.
And I think it's
But-
reinforced by administration as well, especially when they're getting them on at their end.
Yeah.
They're saying kind of pick these seats and kind of stick to them.
Because that is a big objection on the part of a lot of parents. I don't want my 6th grader sitting with high school kids. And that was their reticence in going along with this plan. So
Right. And Dean, I've only fielded two complaints from parents about middle schoolers and high schoolers on the bus at the same time. And one of those was because a couple of high schoolers got to the point where they were about to have a fight and were using some foul language. So the sixth grade parent wasn't happy that their child heard this language that was being used. So the school and STA have addressed that, and those kids are separated. But I haven't had too many complaints from parents, other than those two that I feel.
All right, thanks.
So Susan, Sam, and Phil, I sent actually I sent a text to the two of you. There was some concern, Sam, about the bottom of the hill of where Sutton Park, that light that's there. Actually the mayor actually called because she works at Grasso Tech, and she said that the line and the wait there is extensive. And she said that there was going to be difficulty in trying to get a police officer there to kind of work the light. Are you aware of that? Or I just wanted to kind of pass that information on to you guys. Was that, someone had contacted me today about they kind of wish that there was someone that was stationed to kind of control that light at that intersection.
That's something
Right.
Sam and I can contact the police chief and just say that there's a problem there. Also at Fort Hill, of course, like right across from the high school, they usually have someone right there as well.
Yep. And she found that was true. Like when she worked her way up the hill, she saw that there was police presence there, kind of directing traffic and getting things to move. But that wasn't true for the bottom of the hill, and that was
Yep.
causing quite a bit of congestion.
So we
But
will
I
follow
asked-
up with that tomorrow, definitely.
That'd be great. I appreciate
And,
that.
there have been officers at the bottom of the hill too, but it has been sporadic. It hasn't been on a daily basis. So I know that the other day they had to have our SRO from the high school actually do regular duty with the police because they were short of personnel the other day. So they're probably in the same boat we are to a certain degree.
All right. Thank you, Sam. I don't know. I'm very impressed with the fact that there was lots of difficulty that happened on day one of the transportation. Not that I'm excited that happened, but that it happened, and the amount of effort that went into and the skill sets that went into trying to resolve those problems is pretty amazing and pretty impressive to like kind of get to the point that we are right now in such a few short days. And I feel like I'm hearing your voice in my head where you're like, this is day one, folks. Like, this is just day one. Like, give us a chance. This is day one. But the fact that once again, things are not going to always move slowly. And it sounds like there's still places and spaces that need to be changed. But I just really appreciate the fact that how hard you guys have worked to the good. Like, things are so much better. So
Well, I
really
think we'll
appreciate that.
definitely take lessons learned. So next year we won't even get in this situation. There's so many things that we've talked about that we're going to come together and work on with online registration and, all of the enrollment process and the lottery process. So there's a lot of things we think we can tweak to make even better. So we have all the information ready to go earlier than later. And so everybody has a chance to practice and get the information out. So we still know we have room to improve, and we're working on it.
Anything else about the first part of the school? Questions, thoughts? Liz?
I just want to say that I appreciated the quick response that I think it's Karen Robarge put out about food service when there was a complaint about food the first day or two of school. And I wanted to say thank you to her. It was a clear, concise, and very pointed address to the situation. And I just wanted to extend my gratitude.
I asked Phil and I think Jay, but like my internet is like not doing well. So people are either speaking like they have molasses and like honey in their mouth, or they're speeding like a rabbit, like they're going. And so I'm sorry if I'm sounding like I am like dazed and confused, more so than normal.
You're coming
but
through
I,
crystal
um,
clear.
Okay, so, but Phil, you weren't like, so like, I know it's on my end. I just don't know quite how to resolve it, but, so if I go out and come back in, Andrea, you just need to pay attention to whether I'm on or not. And if you could then just do what you do so well, is to kind of finish the meeting. But if there is no more, if we don't have any more information, oh, Jay.
Yeah, I just want to take the opportunity to echo, what Susan said. There are a lot of people that came together for this final phase of the Groton 2020. I mean, the teachers that had to move schools, Sam's team that had to move the teachers, the food service, the custodians, the teachers, the paras, the bus drivers. I mean, everybody just did a fantastic job, and we have a lot to be proud of. And to paraphrase somebody, I can't remember their name, there's nothing wrong with the Groton Public School District that what's right with it cannot solve.
Oh, I like that. I hadn't heard that one. Thank
Here,
you.
here.
Here, here.
Yes.
I guess it has something to be said about like the lessons learned, right? Like, is
Yeah.
that we're not perfect. We're a human organization. We're asking our students to make mistakes so that they can learn. So if people can take a deep breath and allow us to kind of make mistakes and learn from them and to grow and to change, I think that that's a good metaphor. Jay, thank you.
And we do
also-
appreciate the feedback that we've gotten. So, I've sat with some parents and I, answered some phone calls, and I probably have a few more phone calls to answer today, but I just appreciate the feedback that we're getting. It helps.
And I know I was going to leave someone out. The secretaries, I know they
Yeah.
do. They're now in larger buildings.
Yeah.
Our security at the high school, I know they're out directing traffic. I mean, everybody really has gone above and beyond to make this consolidation and modernization of the district work.
Yeah,
Jada?
and the school nurses.
Yes.
Thank you.
They're
We have
taking-
all those health protocols. You saw those. I reminded you about all those in the board notes too. There's a lot to pay attention to.
Yeah, I asked Susan to do that specifically, to not my neighbors due diligently going to be mowing my lawn in just a second. So I don't want to tell them to stop. I just need to not have it be so loud. Sorry.
I just think we're lucky. We're very lucky.
I'm just gonna go on because I'm gonna be distracted by that. Is there anything else about the school system stuff that people need to have?
Speaking of
what I-
lessons learned, Phil that's a good segue to Phil doing a little bit of a deeper dive for our secondary schools and what we learned in the spring from our parents and teachers, all of our constituents, our students on, safe school climate.
So yeah, and if you guys remember last time we did a sort of an overview. We'll go a little bit deeper. We'll focus on the middle and the high school, the secondary level. Right after that last meeting, we sent you the full presentation just so you had some time to look it over. So hopefully you've had a chance, but if not, I'll take you through it. We'll move quickly past the elementary stuff and we'll focus on that at another time. But we'll take a little bit of deeper dive. And I think the purpose of this is to not only get some feedback from you as to what you saw, but also for you to prepare. I think the next step, Susan, is for our middle school and high school principal, Mr. Kelleher and Mr. Bass, to come and sort of speak to what this data told them. And for, as Susan puts it, the so what, now what answers where, what goals did they come out with after reviewing this data and after meeting with Susan and I at the end of the last school year, where we looked at this a lot closer. So
Phil, if I can just interject 1 second, I think that this meeting was supposed to be the campus meeting. But I think Susan, Phil, and I, when we were doing the agenda, we realized that especially after all the transportation stuff, that Ted and Peter needed to do their stuff with their schools. But that there is enough there that Phil could kind of wet our teeth with, and that we will come back. And I promise you, we will talk about the campus and all those things. I haven't forgotten about that. They're on a future agenda, but we just felt that second week in to school was not the time to bring in those two principals who are working so hard right now.
So I'm going to share my screen again, and I'll go through the presentation after I move some things around. And I won't be able to see you anymore. So if you could just give me the verbal okay that you could see this.
Yes.
Got it.
Okay. And if you remember, all this was put together by the District Safe School Committee. And I worked with Tom Lonsdale and Denise Doolittle to put this all together for this presentation. So like I said, hopefully you had a chance to look it over. If you remember, the topics covered within the survey fell under these 5 categories. We tried to group them. Communication, safety, sense of belonging, respect and diversity, and transportation. And you'll see the surveys were given to staff, parents, and also to students. So we talked about communication last time and how important it is. And of course, we've seen at the beginning of the year how important it's been to gathering feedback and improving each and every day. Obviously, looking back to last year, this was a priority due to all the COVID protocols and the constant changes that were taking place. And so just as a reminder, the district did have parent focus groups to gather information at each school. There were weekly principal meetings with the superintendent and the assistant superintendent to make sure everybody was up to date. Our website was utilized to communicate information to parents, and the creation of the COVID dashboard, which is back, is an important way of keeping parents abreast of what's going on in the district. And of course, our district email system and our alert system to get important information out in a timely fashion was also used. So again, this data here that you're seeing and that you saw, this is district data here. But I will break it down to you specifically to the middle school and high school as well. So one of the things we looked at was, are the buildings communicating frequently with parents so that they feel that they're informed about events and activities at school? Now, of course, last year, I don't think there were too many events and activities at the school, but you could see generally, the blue and the green are, the green is strongly agree and the blue is agree. So you can see district-wide, we were about 89%, a little bit higher than that, almost 90% as a district. And again, I want to remind you too that we did include some quotes from staff members and from parents and whoever the groups were. We did leave it open-ended for parents and for staff. So I included some in there just to round out the data. Sometimes it'll be positive, sometimes it'll be negative, but it really helps to see the whole picture. So for the middle school and high school, if we took it out of, we disaggregated the data, and we had about 78% of the middle school and high school staff felt that the buildings had communicated. So a little bit below that district average. So it's definitely an area of focus moving forward. We've spoken to the administration, and of course, one of the things we're working on is making the website easier to navigate, which is another way, hopefully, that will help improve. And really, we're working on consistently getting the most up-to-date information from parents and staff into Power School, so we have all their phone numbers and make sure everybody's receiving all the messages. But in this particular case, the middle school and high school were a little bit below that, and so they are going to work on communicating with staff. A couple other questions that went out to staff were whether they feel that they can approach the building administrators with concerns and issues, and the other side was also if they feel they can approach district administrators with concerns, issues, or ideas. The data for building administrators, the district data, as you see in front of you, is 82% in the agree or strongly agree, while the district administrators was a little bit lower, a lot lower, actually at 52%. Looking closer at the middle school and high school, we noticed that in terms of the building administrators, about 71% thought that felt comfortable approaching their administrators with concerns or ideas. And only 45% of the middle and high school teachers thought they can, approach the district administration. Definitely, there'll be some goals for this year to include increasing district level admin presence in the building. Susan was doing 2 jobs for half the year. So I am hopeful to help her with this. And we'll hopefully break down any walls that may exist and try to build relationships so we can encourage communication and trust. Dates and times have already been set so that both Susan and I will visit each school twice a month at a set time. And this will involve not only meeting with administration, but visiting classrooms and talking with teachers. So we hope that will help improve that. And like I said, building leaders will establish goals in this area as well. With improvements expected due to the return of school and the inclusion of teachers on committee work throughout the building, which of course was a big piece that was missing last year. The last 2 for staff was whether or not the building administration communicated clearly about their expectations, new developments and ideas and issues. And then we asked the same question about whether or not the district communicates well. Similar data to the last question. Again, this is district data, 71% thought that the building administration did well and 63% thought the district did well. Breaking it down again for the middle and high school, that took a dip. About 50% of the middle and high school staff thought their building administrators communicated well with new developments, ideas, and issues. And 52% thought the district did. Again, things this past year were changing at a pretty rapid pace. And we do plan improvements in this area, again, with the ability to be in the buildings. And plus us as district leaders, Susan and I plan on being in the buildings a lot more, hopefully to be able to answer questions and get some feedback, face-to-face feedback from teachers. So those are definitely areas of concern for us and areas that we're going to focus on for improvement for both the district and the building leaders with Peter and Ted. Parent feedback in the areas of communication about, you see the 2 questions here. They feel comfortable talking to their child's teacher. You see a lot of blue and green, which is great, 92%. That stayed high for middle and high school parents, where 85% felt comfortable talking to their child's teacher. Whether or not they felt they were up to date about school events and activities, you see 92% right there in the graph in front of you. And then you saw 87%, I'm sorry, 87% of the people for both middle and high school felt that same way. So those are pretty high. The comments were pretty positive along the way. You can notice the ones on the screen. I did include one comment on the right that said they were unable to find current information on the website. And like I said earlier, we kind of have already worked on that over the summer to try to clean up the website, make it easier to navigate, and we'll continue to find ways to do that. And also, what I think is important to mention is that we're constantly trying to get the most up-to-date information into PowerSchool, and that does require the parent to go in and update and keep us updated with their email and cell phones as they change. And so we're going to be reaching out again soon and really make a push so we have the most up-to-date information so people are getting the messages that we send out. Another 2 questions that were put out to parents were if they felt like their input was welcome at their child's school, and also whether or not home and school communication was encouraged through their perspective. Again, we see large part of the pie there is blue and green. We also saw the gray column is no opinion. Those might have been parents who haven't reached out or didn't offer input. So of course we want to make it so everybody feels welcome to do that. And you see on the other question about home and school communication to be encouraged, that's also very high at about 88%. When we break it down to focus strictly on the middle and high school, they do dip a little bit. 64% of the parents in the middle and high school feel like their input is welcome, and about 79% feel that home and school communication is encouraged. So again, we hope to make some improvements. Those will be some focus that we work on with Ted and Peter in terms of how they're going to help encourage that and make parents feel welcome. And again, we hope that just seeing them every day in the lines, dropping off their kids, or at the sporting events, different ways. There'll be a lot of different ways now to interact with parents. And so we hope to see that improve. Safety, obviously, a major concern. I'm going to skip over the couple slides for the elementary and move right to secondary. Obviously, the district had a safe reopening plan. We have lessons taught by teachers on safety protocols that continues this year, which include hygiene and hand washing and cleaning. Additional custodial staff was hired, and that's still, we're still trying to maintain those high standards of cleanliness in the schools. All last year visitors were restricted and students were attending in cohorts. So that's when this data was collected. So you can see again, I feel physically safe at the school. Lots of blue and green, which is awesome. You see over 90% of the students feel safe all or most of the time, which is great. Asked more specifically, they have been the target of hurtful social media comments by peers. We see almost 80% have never been a victim of this, but there's still about 20% who have been at least once, if not more. So in our eyes, we've talked to the principals about how we're continuing to educate the children and also educate the parents as well about their children's social media presence. The kids unfortunately are always 1-2 steps ahead of us. Just when we figure out one app, they've moved on to another. But we will try to stay on top of that, research what's out there and try to get that information to our parents and to our kids on how to be safe. So again, this will continue to be an area of growth that we keep an eye on moving forward on the secondary level. This is the staff question. And again, the slide in front of you is a district percentages. My building is safe and secure. Narrowing it down to the middle and high school, you see it right now, the district was at 90%. The middle and high school data is slightly below that at 83%. Again, the comments were overwhelmingly positive, with many shout outs going to their administrators, to the nurses and the custodial staff for keeping people safe. I do think in the future, we might want to define what safe and secure is. I think last year it took on a whole new meaning. And I think most people spoke to it in terms of germs and COVID, rather than maybe in other years where it might be focused on, secure from outside unwanted visitors and that sort of thing. So we'll look at how we're going to change those questions moving forward. In terms of parents feeling safe and secure, sending their children to school, about 90% district-wide, and it ended up being about 81% at the middle and high school level. Again, if you look at the quotes there, there is one from a parent asking for better consequences for repeated bullying. So again, there goes that question as to what safe and secure means, whether we're talking about COVID protocols or whether we're talking about students interacting with other students. And this particular parent interpreted it in that way that was personal to her and her child. So, more comments complimented the staff for helping make their children feel safe during COVID. But all schools will continue to enforce the code of conduct and to communicate that with students. Not only the code of conduct, but the consequences to not following it, especially those that are victims of bullying or mean behaviors. So that will continue to be a focus. Obviously, we want all kids to feel safe in our schools. The part about a sense of belonging, again, we've had initiatives on SEL, social emotional learning, all last year. That will continue this year. All of our staff have established professional goals using social emotional learning as their focus. The district climate committee created a social emotional learning webpage on the GPS website. And there are multiple presentations to staff to help them build their skills so that they can help their kids. Support staff in each building promoted stuff like zones of regulation, second step, responsive classroom, playmakers, the life is good, which is some great stuff. I was able to attend that training, which is just fantastic. And obviously focusing on the growth mindset in kids. You folks at the board adopted the SEL policy last spring, which defined the 6 competencies of social emotional learning, self-management, self-awareness, responsible decision-making, relationship skills, social awareness, growth mindset. And also we've added a position of SEL coordinator for this school year. So there's really has been a focus. And so hopefully, although a lot of the data here is positive, there's definitely, we'll hopefully see some improvement with all these new additions. As you see here, this is on the secondary level. I feel there are trusted adults in the school who I can go to talk to for help. This was given to the students, obviously. Here we see, that kids tend to be, I think we spoke about this at the last time I presented this, about students at the middle and high school level being a little more self-isolating. And we'll definitely use this data to ensure that students feel connected. I think, the advisory groups at both levels will help with this. Trying to make that connection with at least one adult in the building is so important.
Our
And it's nice.
counseling team also is important.
Absolutely. And we're going to work closely. I'm going to work closely, with the counselors, to make sure that they're meeting with the kids, building those relationships and making sure, that we even take that 5% who put none of the time. That's what we're going to focus on. We want them to feel like they have some type of connection at the school, whether it's with a counselor, with a teacher, with an administrator, some adult in the building. Moving on to the staff. Again, this is district data. You see about 76% feel that they're part of the school community, with a small percentage, about almost 9% saying, saying no opinion. When you look at the secondary isolated, middle and high school, it's at about 52%. And again, I think that is more of a product of the last year and a half. You could see some of the comments there that they feel that the administrators have gone above and beyond, but at the same time, they've been trying to create a sense of community, but it is hard. And I would think, again, that's from a distance, virtually, it's very hard. So we're confident that this data will improve over the course of this year. And obviously, we made it a focus with both Peter and Ted to incorporate this into their own goals and their building goals as they're bringing their staff back in the building. If you remember, obviously, Peter combined 2 buildings virtually somehow and made it through on the other side. So this is the first time they're actually in a building together. So, I'm still amazed at the job, he did in listening to the staff and their reactions to their year last year. And obviously, with Mr. Keller getting all his staff back into the building now and really focusing on some activities that could build school community again and help everybody feel a part of things again and not so isolated. This was great data as well. This is the staff responding to relationships between students and between students and staff. So you can see, again, we like to see a lot of the blue and green. We'd love to see, even more. But we see that they feel students treat each other with respect. On the isolating just the middle and high school data, it's still very high at 78%. Students generally treating adults with respect. Middle and high school level, it's at 80%. So again, I think with more time in person, that will improve. And, it all goes back to those relationships and building those relationships with kids. So I'm sure that both principals will be developing goals in that area as well. For parents, we're asking for we asked them for their perspective on whether their child likes to come to school every day. And that was both in person or remotely. And also whether or not they felt there's an adult at their school that their child can talk to if they had a problem. Again, both of these came back positively. As you can see here, 87% felt that their child liked to come to school, with 86% feeling that they had an adult. Looking at the middle and high school data isolated, it's still high at 76% felt that their children liked coming to school every day, and 82% felt that there was an adult in the building that their kid could go to if they had a problem. Both of these, you see some positive comments appreciating the environment that teachers created over the last year. even with those medically fragile students. Other comments want to see improvements in terms of the number of extracurricular activities or opportunities that can be made available. Obviously, that was limited last year, and that's going to open back up, and that has opened back up. And again, through our SEL lessons, we're hoping to continue to provide opportunities for students to learn more about their emotions and to make connections with teachers and other personnel services that they can reach out to. We move on to respect and diversity. Obviously, a district-wide DEI committee was formed to develop a vision statement and inform staff. The board adopted, like I said, an SEL policy that promotes the belief that an integral component of Groton Public Schools' mission is to cultivate an environment of diversity, equity, and inclusiveness. Let me see. Skipped over the elementary stuff, looking at the secondary. Asked by the students, I feel my peers treat me respectfully in the school. And then the students' perspective as to whether adults interact with them in a respectful manner. We see here that 87% of the kids feel that their peers treat them respectfully in school, which is great, but definitely can be improved upon. And also 93% feel that the adults interact with them in a respectful manner. Again, we feel this will improve being back in person, but it's good to see those numbers so high. Moving to the staff, again, these are district-wide results about working with people. Okay, so this is the interactions of staff. I work with people who treat me with respect. The middle and high school data showed 74% of the staff at the middle and high school feel that they treat each other with respect, the other adults. And the other question, administrators foster a respectful climate and culture. At the middle and high school level, 64% felt that they agreed with that statement or strongly agreed. So definitely, while positive for the most part, comments indicated the need to continue to educate in terms of equity and inclusion. And that's already on the agenda to continue. And administrators will continue to strive to foster a respectful environment with and amongst teachers. We know that we set the tone for respect in our buildings, and principals will continue to work with their staff to build a positive school culture. Parent question in this area was whether or not their student felt his or her differences were respected by others. There was a large group, as you can see there, that had no opinion. So again, we might want to change how we ask this question just to see whether they maybe don't feel they have differences, or maybe don't recognize differences, or maybe never had any personal problems, so they just didn't answer. Maybe change that to not applicable or something like that. We'll work on that. But parent comments ranged from positive comments to a request for more diversity lessons across the grade level, and even some lessons in good manners. So they took this again in a lot of different ways.
Bill, I'm seeing the staff slide up. Are you looking at another slide on parents?
Oh, I'm sorry. It is parents. Yeah, that's the right. I'm talking about the right data. I just said, I said, are you looking at the parents?
I see one that says staff.
Is there a separate one for parents?
There it is. You got it.
Okay, I'm
You
sorry.
just got it.
I was seeing parents though, but it must have been delayed a little bit. Sorry about that.
No, that's right.
So basically, they feel like their students' differences are respected, and about 76% in the district did, and about 65% on the middle and high school level. So that is definitely going to continue to be a focus. Again, the principals have this data. And again, this has to do with student behaviors. It could do with bullying. And some people feel like more has to be done to weave the DEI stuff into our curriculum, which again, is part of our plan moving forward. All right, the last part is transportation. Again, we'll move to the secondary. And again, this is data, going off our conversation just before this. I feel my trip to and from school is a positive and safe experience. Majority is very positive. 92% feel safe all or most of the time. And 8% or so feel safe less than that. Again, we don't know from the way this question is asked if it's safe in terms of COVID issues or safe in terms of physical harm or feeling safe. So we're going to develop questions. As we said, we're going to, it's only been the first week. We're going to probably try and collect data on our new transportation by the, maybe by the end of the month, give it some time to work the kinks out. It is improving every day, but then start asking questions about how kids feel, how parents feel, and even probably how the buildings feel, because they've been on the front lines there in terms of working through the different problems. So it's good to see this data so positive, and we hope it will continue with this new system.
And the interesting thing is last year and even the beginning of this year, more and more parents are driving their children back and forth. So when you ask the transportation question, we're not as specific. So we might want to be more specific. Transportation to and from on a bus ride, or with a parent. So.
Yep. Yep. And as you can see, the data too for the parents, and obviously the large percentage of those who had no opinion, those could be parents who drive their kids to school every day and don't do it. But, and this is a district slide. You see almost 80% are positive. On the middle and high school level, it was about 70%. So definitely room for improvement and going to be an area, obviously, that we're going to watch very closely moving forward with our new system. And again, the last couple slides, I think I shared last time in terms of takeaways, and you've kind of heard it throughout the presentation in terms of obviously communication is key. You've heard how positive it's been. Just recently, you guys receive calls and you immediately give us feedback, and we look for ways to make immediate improvements. And we've been doing that with the buildings. We've been doing that with parents and with you guys too. So we appreciate that. And communication is going to be the key moving forward with everything. Safety obviously will also continue. We will, specific things in terms of that were identified here with some of the younger kids and even on the middle school level, improving safety in all those non-supervised areas and improving parents and students' knowledge of proper social media presence. That's a problem that's been around. I don't think that's anything new, but we have to remember it in the midst of all this stuff, because I do think kids have retreated to social media as they've become more of an online learner over the last year and a half. So we have to make sure that we are continuing to address that and educate our community. And then building the sense of community. This is going to be the major work of probably all the principals in the district, but specifically middle and high school as they now come back into the buildings, and they have to reestablish those relationships. And again, with different staffs, and it is going to be in the elementary level as well, with all the different staffs in the new buildings too. So that's a major part of the work that we're all going to be doing this year.
Right.
The DEI work will continue to be woven in. That committee, is still working, in many different ways, whether it's through hiring, whether it's through the book clubs and building capacity in some of our leaders in our building to carry on the work in their buildings. It's been really impressive to be a part of those book clubs for some of you who are a part of that. And now it's the next step and the next work that's going to happen as the school years get underway. And then finally, of course, transportation, which we just talked about. We all know what's going on with that. It's just about monitoring that, getting feedback, and continuing to improve that each day as we move forward. So that I will stop talking. And I really think the point of this is not only to do a little bit deeper dive, is to maybe give you guys things that you think about, what you have questions on and what you might want to see from the middle and high school principals for them to prepare for when they come to see you. So we could definitely open it up to questions, and between Susan and I, we'll try to answer them to the best of our ability.
Lee.
Yes, I would like you all to know that the policy committee, we are working hard on the harassment, on the bullying, on the content, and you will see some I think, interesting changes on our regular meeting at the end of the month.
Thank you, Lee.
Great, thank you.
Board, did you find it helpful to have Phil just zoom in on just the secondary instead of like having like, we had like last time we had everything? Was this helpful for just having it parceled out just to hear secondary and then elementary?
I
knowing
think
that
it's
we're gonna-
great.
Okay,
All
good.
right, I
I
didn't want
just
to
hope
create a
that-
whole, I'm sorry, Kim, I don't mean to cut you off. I didn't want to make a whole new PowerPoint because I wanted to work off the one that you guys had. So I hope you caught some of that data with the middle and high school. I just didn't want to throw something new at you in terms of a visual.
I just want to make sure that people are getting what they need from this information, knowing that, once again, this was originally supposed to be tweaked a very different way, but we wanted really Ted and Peter to be able to kind of take a deep breath with all the stuff that's going on. But that I just thought that I was overwhelmed with the data because it was both elementary and secondary, and so I think it was nice just to kind of have it done, and maybe I'm just really craving data. Because it's just been so long.
But it's great
since
to
we've
have
been
some.
able to have, it's nice to finally have something to be able to kind of jump on. But once again, Phil, thank you very much for sort of walking us through the slides. Are there any other questions for Phil or Susan? Sorry. Rosemary.
I just wanted to remark that I found it helpful to separate it because there is a wealth of data and it's a reasonable way to crunch the numbers.
Thank
More
you, Rosemary.
bite-sized.
Rosemary, thank you. I really appreciate the feedback.
And I will say too, if there's something you want us to pull out, just let us know. And we can create some graphs that can help you understand it better. You know, just, you could shoot me an email and Tom and I will work on it.
I think I'm really interested to see how the staff are, because we have so many different buildings now, that's
Yeah.
not even good English, that have blended their staff.
Mhm.
So the Groton Middle School, I mean, granted, this is their second year in operation, but it's really not their second year in person. And so how is that working and how is that happening? And then also the two new elementary schools have combined staff. And so like, how is that, and how are, what's the intentionality around community building for the teachers? And I know we're the Board of Ed that would need to be thinking about the kids, but I think if the teachers are not feeling like they have community, it's really hard for them to do the work with the kids. So once again, I appreciate your efforts, and both you and Susan around that. If there are no other comments, let's move on to sustainability of technology. Oh, and look who appears, Mr. Clint Kennedy.
Hello, everyone. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. It's wonderful to see all these faces. It's been a while, so thank you for having me. I'm going to do a short and sweet update, really to tee up some of the conversations that Ken will have following, but also starting budget season, which is just around the corner. So I'm about a month into this journey, and it's been great to reconnect to schools I've been a student in, but also a community that I know quite well. So really this idea of sustainability of technology is in three parts, or I'm thinking about it as kind of a three-legged stool. The systems we're running, the staff we have to support them, and really end devices. I would love to walk you all through at a later date, but the amount of systems that we have, information systems running all types of pieces of this wonderful school district, all kind of centralized in a hub of Power School with many spokes coming out of transportation, food and beverage, and so forth, is quite impressive. It also takes a lot to sustain, make sure those links are connected and so forth. So I've been taking a really deep dive on all of those information systems that kind of make this district tick, and how we can potentially upgrade those, improve those, and really have the plumbing and the connectivity that's rock solid so that we can depend on this data, we can be free flowing on a regular basis and so forth. So that's step one. Step two is certainly staff. There's a great team here. I was very lucky to have an opportunity through 2 retirements to hire 2 new techs who have been onboarded over the last 3 weeks, and they've jumped right in and have been very productive. So that's been great to add them to a mix of a team with many, many years of experience. But I'm also looking at that and from a budget lens as well on what is most appropriate. What do we have currently in the system? What will we have over the next 3 to 5 years? And what are those skill sets that staff should have to make sure that we're covering all of our bases? Really, the third piece is end user devices. And some of you may know this, some of you may not, but during the pandemic, Groton went for the first time fully one-to-one across all students. And if you actually peel back the layers, we're actually 2-to-1 when you start talking about the elementary level, where we have a device available to every student in the elementary schools, but also at home. What that amounts to is a very large number of end user devices. Now we've been able to obtain those through different grant fundings, especially those that have been made available during a pandemic. But something that keeps me up late at night is what happens when we solve this crisis, this pandemic, and we do get to return to some level of normalcy. How do we maintain that level of service to our students, keep those devices on the road in working order so that they can be used for the instruction that teachers are putting out into the wild in classrooms, at home, with parents, guardians, what have you. So those are kind of the 3 key buckets that I've been diving into, trying to design plans to be sustainable. And you will see that in a much larger kind of presentation discussion when we really start diving into some of the budget discussions and how do we fund this and how do we move forward. The good news is this is the way we should be doing it, and we should be providing this access to students across the board. The trick is going to be, how do we build a mid to long-term plan to make sure we're doing this appropriately, effectively, in a way where we're integrating it into teaching and instruction in the classroom. So we're being most effective with the tax dollars that we're using. So that's really where I'm at right now. A lot of this is to tee up the conversation we're going to have in a month. I'm going to bring my thoughts, what I see as the plan moving forward, concerns that we have so that we can address them and move forward. If I may take just 30 more seconds too, before certainly questions or comments, just a quick update. The 2 river schools are obviously open and we're doing our best with kids. And it was great to see them in action back in schools. It was a joy, but those buildings are not 100% complete from a technology perspective. We've been working hard to make sure any systems that haven't been completed through the building committee's work in the town, that we've had an alternative to get those open. So we're still due quite a bit of networking equipment as well as end user devices and the like that we've been piggybacking on other systems within the district. So we're fully operational. There shouldn't be any safety concerns. We're providing the service that we need, but in a lot of ways, we're leveraging the work that has been done in the past until those schools can be fully operational. And to make that, give you an example. So we have each of those schools are going to have about, when all is said and done, and currently do have about 13 network switches in them that do a variety of things, pushing different types of data around those buildings. We currently have switches that we're using for our phone system upgrade and so forth, while we're waiting for those additional switches to arrive, which, because of shortage of supplies with chips and other things across the world really that's facing, we're making do with what we have, and it's working. But we will continue to monitor that, and as equipment becomes available, we will integrate it into the system, relieving some pressure on other systems that we're using in the short term to make everything work, and it is. But that is not a complete 100% project as of yet, and I'm looking forward to getting hands on that equipment, transitioning it to my team and officially Groton Public Schools, so that we're 100%, and then we can start hardening some of this equipment, really locking it down, and having it sustainable for the long term, to keep any of those tech calls or hiccups and so forth to a very bare minimum. So that's where we're at with tech. Again, this has been, I love jumping in with Susan and Phil. This is a wonderful team, and I'm excited to be here. And I'm ready to keep going, get the work done. So happy to talk questions, comments, or what have you around technology, and looking forward to continuing this dialogue over the next couple months.
We are so glad to have you too.
So Clint,
you.
before I recognize Rita, I just wanted to say, so your work is already starting. So I was in a meeting on Friday with the teachers and we were having some difficulty with the Promethean boards, and someone stepped up and said, wait a second, I just had my training and I think I can solve it. And so
Fantastic.
I was just like, yay.
I love it.
We are
Yes, we had
getting,
a full morning with the staff at Mystic River Magnet School. We did an afternoon session with teachers at Groton Middle School and Fitch High School. As someone mentioned before, Kim, I think it was you. Yes, it's the second year of GMS, but in a lot of ways, we're kicking the tires on some of these different pieces for the first time. So that's great feedback. And I'm looking forward to continuing those sessions.
Rita,
My question, Clint, did you say that every elementary child has a computer at home and also one in school? They never have to transport their computers.
So let me be very clear. They have access to it in every classroom in the schools. So they're not carrying a one-to-one device around with them. We do not have
Right.
kindergartners with Chromebooks in their backpacks. Forgive me if I misled you, but they have accessibility in every classroom, obviously the library and media center as well. And then the rollout, I don't believe we're at 100%. I know we're not at 100% of every student, but we pushed those out for those parents who wanted them. And certainly anybody who asked for them. This was, a year and a half ago, far before me. And we've continued to try to address any of those parents, especially those new ones coming in the district who may need support in that. So yes, so 2 to 1 may be a bit of a misnomer, maybe more like 1.8 to 1, Rita,
Okay.
to answer your question directly. And no, sorry, we do not have kindergartners with a Chromebook walking around the hallways.
Thank you.
Sure. Any other comments or questions? Lee, please.
Lee, and then Jay.
Hi, I love it when you talked about the river schools. Our 2 elementary schools are truly the same now. And I love the concept of calling them river schools. Thank you for that.
Sure. Sorry, that's my shorthand. And I like it too. I love walking around them. They are beautiful schools. And I can't wait to spend more time in them.
You got a copyright quick.
Yeah.
Jay?
Yes, Clint, so welcome aboard again.
Thank you.
And I should know the answer to this, but I know there were challenges. This is way before your time. There were challenges with the installation of Promethean boards at Groton Middle School last year. And I'm just curious, do you know the status? Were all of those rectified?
We are 100% at Groton Middle School on Promethean boards, save one, where the warranty process is being run as we speak. It gets a little interesting in a handoff from building committee to ownership of Groton Public Schools. And that has been an open issue that we're trying to rectify right now. I'd like to get that process completed so we know we can go to that in the future when inevitably one of the boards in the 2 river schools will have a malfunction or a warranty claim that we need to process.
Okay, and I know that everyone keeps referring to this global chip shortage, which I believe is due to the destruction of a factory in, I forget now, Singapore, Hong Kong. So is this affecting our ordering, getting orders together for like Chromebooks? And
No, it hasn't impacted that. We actually have some in reserve right now as we swap out. If a student has a break fix problem that we need to address, we can give them a loan or what have you. So as it stands right now, we are good on student end user devices. Really the pain point for me right now, and again, we're hanging a lot because there's such a new robust network at Groton Middle School. A lot of the services in the 2 river schools are being fed by networking equipment and systems that we have set up at Groton Middle School. Obviously, for redundancy, we want those equal throughout all the buildings, and we will be hopefully at about a month's time to 6 weeks when some of this equipment comes in. But it's really the networking equipment that has been really difficult to get a hold of. I could speculate, but yes, I think there's a lot of different reasons in this kind of tech pipeline. And I know you've all heard it in the mainstream media and so forth, that the days to delivery from these companies continue to get extended, months at a time. So we're making do with what we have. And luckily Groton's in a wonderful position to fall back on newer tech that's been put in place over the last couple of years. We're making do, and then we'll be 100%, hopefully, like I said, 4 to 6 weeks.
okay, and then one last thing, if I may,
Please.
is, I know that the new phone system's been installed at central office.
Correct.
And has it been upgraded in all of the, obviously the new schools came with phone systems. What about Charles Barnum, Northeast, Kolnaski? Is everything now?
We are not 100%. We are half and half. 4 of
Okay.
the 8 buildings are on the new voice over IP system. 4 are still on legacy systems. And again, we had to use those. We repurposed those switches temporarily to light
Okay.
the 2 new river schools. Once
Okay.
those new switches come in, we're going to spend a weekend doing a swap because
Okay.
we need to put those new ones into the 2 river schools. They won't see any changes, but we will on the back end and redundancy and so forth. And then those switches will then go to those 4 schools that are remaining to complete the voice over IP project.
Okay, thank you very much.
Sure.
You have a lot on your plate.
Yes, and I'm happy to do it.
Any other questions for Clint around technology stuff? Clint,
Kim,
welcome
if I may-
aboard. It was good to see you.
Thank
Okay.
you. I'm sorry, so sorry to interrupt. I have one more thing, and I just want to read one of the things that that Phil had mentioned. We are in the midst of making sure that all families have their re-registration process done. Think of it as you will. Most of us have been parents. I think we get that stack of paperwork day 1 of school that we have to fill out and get back, and in schools help encourage that. Because that's paperless now, we have the same situation, and we need to encourage parents, guardians, families, and so forth to complete that so that we have the latest and greatest contact information so we can talk about all the wonderful things that are happening, experiences in schools, and God forbid, there's an emergency or a problem that we need to get to those parents and backup contacts and so forth. So I'm stealing some time, but I just want to stress, we've been sending out emails and robocalls and website updates and the like. We even put hard copies in backpacks. So if parents can please do us the favor and hit that re-registration button, it's really around making sure that your information is as up to date as possible. Help us help you. And we'd hopefully have that all done by September 25th. So thank you.
Jay?
So that brings up a good point, Cliff. Can they use that same link, say in January, if something changes? Is that going to be like dynamic or?
So we have a re-registration process, which is the basically opens a lot of those different fields from full contacts and so forth. We keep that open now, and we typically lock that right at the end of September because we have a whole state reporting system and so forth that needs to go out at the beginning of October. There are still some basic fields that they can update, and we will open that all up again in the second half of the school year as we want to make sure we get updated information and so forth. If someone does have a change, like address or contact information or something during that period, once we've locked it down for state reporting, they can then, come through the central office or their individual school building and get it updated that way.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Liz?
Clint, you just made me think of something. We usually have to fill out those government forms for October 1st. Are those going to be online, or do they still have to be paper? Do you know?
I don't know which government forms you mean specifically, but for the public school information system, the PSIS, which we have certain dates that we have collections directly to the state, they now have hooks into each of our systems where we can then send data once it's complete. And that first collection is at the beginning of October. So we're not doing specific forms for the state. They're trusting us to get that data complete and then hand that off in a batch.
No, I'm
Liz, are
talking
you
about,
talking about impact aid?
I
forms?
think so. I think it's the
For the
one that
military?
every year we have to fill out military, if you're active duty, if you work at EB, if you were at the Mashantucket, that one where it says you're working on a federal, I think it's the federal form. I think that's what
It
we're
is.
supposed to call it.
And it's impact aid, Liz. Good,
Is that what
good
it is?
question, actually.
It is.
Absolutely good question.
It's
It's
very
what is the
important that
answer
our
to
parents
that?
fill those out.
So are
But
they
is
going
that
to get
paper?
those? Yeah.
I think
those-
that's still paper.
Okay, parents need to be looking for that and aware for that. We need that information desperately.
We do. Absolutely.
Good question, Liz.
Yeah, I don't have a good answer for you, but I'm going to find out. So forgive me, on my to-do list. I'll make sure that we have that system covered. I don't believe it's part of this collection, but I do not know when that is, but we'll find out.
I don't know if this is for you, Clint, Susan, or Phil, but I'm also really curious about how we're reaching out and sending information to our parents, because I know that we rely heavily on our website, but some of our parents don't necessarily have access to our website because of their phone that they're using or what have you. Are we making sure that we have multiple ways of reaching out to our parents to make sure that this information gets to them? And I mean, I think that even goes into Liz's question about the paper form, because I know that that's always an issue and people don't understand how important it is for us on this end in terms of what monies we get for impact aid. That was just my, I don't know if, I think that that's a rhetorical question, but I just am wondering about all the different ways that we're communicating with our families.
So I think one of the ways that parents appreciate communication is through school messenger. But what Clint is telling us is that we really need the updated information for school messenger to work. So we know that not all parents are getting the messages because either phone numbers have changed or other things have
Right.
changed. So it's really very important, and that they let us know how they want to be communicated with. Is it a text message? Is it a phone message? Is
Right.
it an email? Is it all of the above? So we are working as a team to make sure that we have all systems go and updated so that people will get the messages they need. And in the, for instance, that Clint gave, he actually put yellow paper in the old fashioned way in the book bag so that they would make sure that they got on got on the Power School and did those updates. But you can add to that, Clint
Yeah,
or Phil.
Yeah, it's a perfect example. We hit them with voice, we hit them with email. We communicated with them voice, via email, website, and hard copies, because this is an interesting challenge. We're trying to communicate to them to communicate to us how best to communicate back to them. In this particular case, we also used the website and provided directions there and pointed them to that, so that if they have a local browser and they have to convert that, or they want to have that in a unique language, we couldn't possibly send hard copies in all different languages, but there's an option for them to be able to convert that text. It's not a PDF, it's a live website. So if they're used to doing that, they can do that as well. We're trying to, have we covered 100% of the bases? No, we're going to be making phone calls and so forth in the near future, but we're trying to do that full court press amongst multiple options to get to as good as we can. And then of course, we will be following up with phone calls and so forth over the next couple of weeks to get those parents that just haven't been able to get it done for whatever reason. And we can have them come in and so forth.
It's also happening, by word of mouth. I had parents contact me saying, my neighbor told me they got a message, but I didn't get it. So people are communicating and letting each other know what they've heard, and then they're contacting us. And sometimes it's just as easy as going in for them or walking them through it too. So it is happening in a variety of different ways.
And at the risk of belaboring this too, when you pull this back down, we have communication systems from district to all parents and families. We have systems where schools and teachers can be communicating instructional items, student work, and so forth through the whole series of learning management systems we have. And we have direct teacher to parent communications, so that we're not going in mass, but we're targeting specific classes around specific communication needs. So we're hitting it at multiple levels. That adds to this entire topic of sustainability and staff to support that, and systems that are updated and talking to each other and so forth. So that's it's come full circle. That's a lot of the work that I'm doing. Is we have some wonderful systems, but they're only as effective as they are maintained and updated and training on how to use them. So that's really the holistic picture I'm trying to dive into.
Yes.
Any other questions? Sounds like, Clint, you're going to be offering us some budget suggestions in terms of the technology department. I sniff it.
I will try to use best practices every time I can, but in the context of what Groton needs for our students. So.
Right. Nope. Absolutely. And that might be something that we'll just have to grapple with when we get to the budget season for next year.
Do my best.
Thank you, Clint. It's good to see you. Once again, welcome. If I'm not, oh, Jane, I'm so sorry.
Yeah. You know, I'm sitting here smiling. I've known Clinton for a long time, and he's looking younger by the year. Just this is suiting him very well. Guys, this is an educational renaissance we're in the middle of. Thank you all so much. This is absolutely amazing. I'm glad to have lived long enough to see this happen anywhere, never mind Groton. This is absolutely, truly, to repeat myself, amazing. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Jane.
Jane. If we're not hearing anything more, we'll move on to the budget priorities and timeline. I can't believe that we're thinking about that. And Lee, I just want to say I am so appreciative of your cat because it makes me not feel so bad when Miss Katie decides to walk across my screen during our Zoom calls. So I appreciate that.
Well, we knows who's, this is his house, not mine.
Clearly. All right, Miss Susan, what do we have?
So we've got Ken and I and Lori and Phil have been discussing kind of getting ourselves ready for the new budget season. We talked to John Burt and Cindy Landry at the town and talked about CIPs, which they'll be sending information out. So we're kind of getting everything lined up and ready to go. So Ken, do you want to walk us through?
Yes, I'd love to. So FY23 budget, that's on our horizon. So next month, we're going to kick this off. We're at the administrators meeting and we will start sending out the formats for to be filled out. We typically like to get the site budgets back from the principals right before Thanksgiving. Then we'll put that information together and throughout the month of December, Susan and her administrators and group will go through that. We do plan on reviewing our preliminary data with the Finance and Facilities Committee meeting at the beginning of December. And then Susan will present the budget on January 3rd. We have a total of 7 budget work sessions in this schedule. In also a public hearing on January 18th and a joint Board of Ed, Town Council and RTM budget meeting on February 2nd. And the plan would be for the board to adopt the budget on February 21st. And we need to have that over to the town, at least a number by February 28th per charter. And then we do get the books to them by the 15th. And then throughout March and April, town council reviews, and they adopt it at the end of April, and the RTM reviews, and they adopt at the end of May. That's the schedule.
So where's my that sounds easy button?
7 sessions. So last year we were a little tight in our sessions. So we've got 7, which is I think a little bit. We had maybe 5 or 6 in last year's schedule, but we've added in more. We can take them out if we find we're further ahead, but we wanted to make sure there was plenty of opportunities for you guys to go through all those numbers and come up with a budget that we can pass on to the town council.
And as you know, the staff is the, oh, I'm sorry, Kim. Go on.
Go ahead.
So
you've given us a week between our adoption and when it has to go to the town council. So we actually have technically, we could even add a couple more in there. Not a favored, but we can do that. But yeah, go ahead, Susan.
well, I think the driver of the budget, as you know, are the people. We always say, what do we give our kids? We give them best highly qualified teachers and paras and, you know, custodians and all those people who help run the schools and educate the kids. So we've already started taking looks at that, Lori and Ken and I and Phil. So not knowing how this negotiation is going to go, we don't have exact numbers, but just seeing history of how it's been operating the past several years gives us kind of an inclination of how it might go this next year. So that's really the driver. So in saying that, that always is an increase. So we have to think about what are those areas that can be our efficiency areas that we can streamline. So just to let you know, we've already started looking at some of those details.
Yeah, unlike the past couple of years, we've had some consolidations going on between the middle school into one and then the 3 into 2. So we had some natural consolidation amounts that we took into account as we built the past 2 years' budget. This year will be the first year in a couple of years anyhow where we don't have any of that. So we're going to have to probably work at it a little bit more to come up with efficiencies as Susan says, but I think it's definitely doable, but we have a work cut out for us.
I noticed on February 2nd, we have the RTM and town council. Oftentimes we meet with them individually or individual groups. I think the past couple of years, we have been doing it in a more, we tried to do the RTM and the town council together, but we still had the separate meeting. So maybe come January, we're going to need to have a conversation with the town council and the RTM to see how they want to sort of handle the budget conversations, because it's usually a town council and it's usually an RTM separate. But we have tried to do that combined just to kind of hear where the other town bodies are coming from, but they still have wanted their own individuals. So we'll have to kind of think about that and monitor that. Any other questions about the timeline? I cannot believe that we're talking about budget. Dean, you're looking very spooky there, sir.
Yeah, my wife calls me the Prince of Darkness.
All right, with that comment, I'm going to see, is there anything we want to do about the referral list, folks?
I'd like to add some things. I don't know if you first want to go over anything.
Well, let's
Could be taken
ahead.
off.
Rita, what would you like to add?
Oh, nobody wants to take anything off? No, no policies, nothing. Okay. I wanted to add, we had a discussion, negotiations the other day about 3 staff members want to present a new program called Ed Rising. And I would like that moved to the committee of the whole after a presentation by these 3 staff members, and then we can then move it to finance and then negotiations.
That's
think
actually a really good idea. We talked about inviting Adam Diskin, who's really been on that.
And
It's a
Adam.
club for
Yeah.
kids.
Yeah, it's a
So
club.
it's starting out as a club for kids. So we were thinking when we have the middle school and high school together next week to do a deeper dive and to talk about the organization, that would be a really good place to put it if you guys choose to want to hear about it next week.
Okay. And then my other one I wanted to add was, I don't know the status of the timeline for transferring these schools back to the town. Has that happened? Are we still, do we still need to save Mary Morrison in reserve? What is going on with that? And probably Sam needs to, let us know what's happening in terms of the storage that's at Pleasant Valley also.
There's actually a whole process. I got to meet with Liz and Aunt Andrea on Friday, and I found the document about how to transfer schools from the Board of Ed to the town council. So maybe I'll look at that, and if it needs to come to the committee of the whole, that would be a very important thing to do. Thank you, Rita.
Right, and also about Mary Morrison, you know, if we
Mary
were gonna
Morrison.
hold that in reserve, but I'm not sure we need to with the new schools up and running. That's
I
it.
thought that decision had already been made. I was under the impression that we had already made that decision that we were going to keep Mary Morrison.
We did
in-
make that decision. I want to revisit that decision after we hear from staff members whether or not we really do need to keep holding on to it, or if there are enough seats in our presence, the new schools to, if we need to hold it. Because I noticed there was an article in the paper and a letter to the editor asking about Mary Morrison. So I would just like the board to review it.
Rita,
Our
could you
robotics
clarify? This is Joan.
Yes.
Clarify your first.
Oh.
referral?
I think Susan will be able to fill you in on that. That's something with 3 staff members want to present, and also Vice Principal Diskin about, it's called, I think it's Education Rising.
Yes.
Okay, I wasn't clear about that, what the
Yes.
title was. That's what I was getting at. Thank you.
Yeah, but Susan will
Very
let you
much.
give you the.
I'll see you tomorrow.
Okay. And that's it for me. I did want to know, I noticed under COW that I had
got you,
2
Liz.
things on that was like October and then November of 2020. Discussion of STEM Masters for Diversity, discussion of STEM Residency for Diversity. And I was wondering, Susan, if you could enlighten me onto what those were.
I will find out.
You'll find out. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Liz,
Quick question. Under the COW, the last one says discussion of one card, one community. Haven't we had that discussion already? And
but
haven't we decided to?
it hasn't come to fruition because I think that we were looking for a discussion with the town around using some ESSER grant. Was that not correct, Susan?
No, I don't think that's the problem. I think it's a software database issue that hasn't gone through yet, where we would have to get permission from families to be able to share students' IDs with the library, so that their library card would be just their student ID, or their school card could be also their library ID.
So
So
maybe it should go
I
from
did talk-
discussion. Go ahead, Susan, that was not the.
I just wanted to say, I did see the librarian at the Groton Middle School over the summer when we were doing orientation for families. And she says there's just some things we have to work out, details. So I will try to pull the team together with Amy McKenna. Maybe Phil can help me with that too, just to see what other things do we need to put in place to get this to work.
And maybe it should go from discussion to implementation. Because
Yes.
you're right, Liz, we've talked about it. We've had the
Right.
discussion about it, but I don't want to lose it. Because I would like for it to happen. Because that would be just a really awesome thing to happen.
One more, what about R 2020-12?
Where are you at?
Oh, assessment of what went well, what went wrong with distance learning.
And the inequities. Do we still need to keep that on there? Did we have a report about that?
Well, I think we had, in the survey, we got results. We had done a survey in the middle of the year with parents, and I know I had reviewed that at that time.
Right,
And I think in making our plan for this year, we certainly took the lessons learned that we wanted to keep, and we certainly wanted to get kids in full, because we know, and the data shows, even with SBAC, which I look forward to sharing with you, next month, but we know that the students who were in person did much better than the students who were fully remote. So we have a lot of evidence around that, around the state.
I just don't, my personally, I don't feel that we need that because hopefully we're not going to be doing distance learning anymore. Hopefully.
Only if they quarantine or school emergency, according to our plan. And
Right.
that could be a
right.
day or two.
Yeah.
So,
So how does the board feel about having that removed from the committee of the whole? Thank you, Rita.
Welcome.
I'm not hearing any complaints, so I say it gets moved, Joan. All right.
Kim, when was the last time we talked about the Transition Academy and the need for an alternative high school? I really have no memory of that. And
That's been on there for years. I actually think that's,
Yep.
Transition Academy and alternative ed are two different things.
Right,
Transition
so-
Academy is our special education program for 18 and older, I think to 22
Okay,
now. And
all right.
that's in the gymnasium at the
Right.
central office, right?
right, okay,
And then down the hall, though, we do have some alternative ed, like through Apex, for kids who really struggle in the school. So it is something that I've talked to Kim about, even to see if there could be a regionalization of a program like that. So I just have to pull the meeting together. Once I get my school buses set, I'm going to pull that meeting together.
I'd like to, if you're pulling that together, Susan, and you would like some input, please don't hesitate to reach out to me.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Liz.
anything else, folks? Hearing none, and that we've gone through the referral list and also suggested future topics. We have reached the end of our agenda, and so I will take a motion for adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
And
Say goodnight.
Rosemary has
goodnight,
seconded
Gracie.
it.
Don't forget
And
to
we
say
have a
goodnight.
good night, Gracie.
Good night, Gracie.
Have
All
a
right,
great
all
Bye.
right, all those in favor, we said yay, aye,
Bye.
all gone. Bye, guys.